I will hand over the mic to our Assistant Director General of UNESCO to kickstart us in this very stimulating panel, Stefania Giannini.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, how you say now. Thank you, Kenisha, for your leadership as usual. I mean, I'm supposed to open this meeting, right? I have a beautiful speech, but given the topic and given, I would say, the common passion we have, all of us, I suppose, it's not preaching the converted here, but it's making the message amplified as much as possible. I prefer to say a few words that just really, from the bottom of my heart, my voice is a little bit lower than usual, but I can assure that my spirit is still very strong and passionate about this cause. Well, let me say like this. Last year in New York at the Transforming Education Summit, we tried all together to mobilize the political commitment, attention, awareness at the highest level from political leaders of the world on the importance of investing in education and transforming education in order to transform society. That's the very simple message that I'm sure all of you are aware and you are helping us to follow up. And at the core of this initiative were maybe for the first time so visibly, so concretely, youth. Young people like you, Kenisha, young people who push us to focus on the real priorities of these current times. I could mention some of them, but I wish to focus on one of them, which is how education can really make the difference in terms of transmitting in the school and outside the school better knowledge, to raise awareness, to change the mindset and behaviors in society about nature, about environment, about the common responsibility we have to protect the planet and to make the difference for next generation. I mean, I'm sure you say it's not, it's almost a commonplace, right? To talk about climate change. It's almost a commonplace now to be part of the climate action. It's not so obvious that education systems are really well prepared to do that, are really well prepared all around all different pillars of education system, how they are structured, how they are working. That's why we launched a very specific initiative in New York, which is still our framework of reference. We call it, in English, it sounds very nicely, greening education, and greening education together. Greening education together, that's why we call it Green Education Partnership, is about involving all the different components and dimensions we need to make the change. Schools, because schools are the place where things happen, in the classroom, around the buildings, and the way the school is organized, starting from principals to teachers to workforce working in the learning environment, and of course the students, can really make the change. Curriculum, because climate change is a small, crucial part of a broader approach to education for sustainable development, and possibly you are aware that this organization, many years ago, when climate change was not so sexy, let me say, and popular as a topic in the world, launched a very innovative roadmap and framework that was called Education for Sustainable Development. And this was the very beginning of what SDG 4 became a few years later. And that's what we are discussing with member states in the official Education Commission meeting a few hours ago this morning. So, content makes the difference. It's not simply a two nice years to add at the end of the week in order to make climate change a part of the curriculum. It's about changing the approach to curriculum and having this holistic vision, a whole society, I would say, schooling if we want really to make sustainability a serious issue and not just a trendy stuff. Third, crucially, teachers, because teachers may be the agents of change or may be the obstacle to change. We must be very blunt and honest between us. I'm pretty sure that all of you met in your life and career, even young people, you know, the guy who changes your intention. You want to be a lawyer, and because of him or her, you became a classical philologist. This is my case. But beyond these shining examples, we also have teachers that sometimes, I mean, unintentionally, they are not well equipped, they are not well prepared, they feel not comfortable to make the change in the classroom and to, for instance, address sustainability through their disciplines appropriately. That's why the third pillar of our common partnership for education, for climate change and greening education is about teachers' capacity, which is about individual training, but it's also very much in the ministry, at country level, providing all the skills and all the tools that ministry usually don't have. I can tell you on behalf of many former ministers and ministers are here, including myself. It's not so easy when you go into the office and say, oh guys, I want to change everything. I want to have a team which is following step by step my vision, what you students ask me to do. As a politician, of course, you do your best because also you have your commitment to your constituency, but it takes time, and politics is not for the long-term approach, unfortunately. So, last but not least, can we do everything? Can we really be serious in this radical change, cultural change, without a real involvement of the community, of the society which is around the school? I don't think so. That's why municipalities, that's why mayors, that's why what we call in our Greening Education Partnership, greening communities, is a fundamental ground for change. And once again, this is the right place, colleagues, to be, and the right time, because UNESCO, as you maybe know, is the organization which launched years ago, once again, pioneering some trends that the world then developed differently, according to different new priorities, two important cities networks, learning cities and creative cities. And these networks are platforms which now count on, I'm talking about my own responsibility on the learning cities, some 300 and something, connecting, all the dots in the world, from the small town, which doesn't have necessarily at the highest level of leadership the possibility to be in touch, to share experience and learn from other examples in other regions of the world, to cities like Seoul, just to mention one I have in mind, or big cities which really have already all the structure behind their administration to share and teach and learn from others. So that's why, to conclude, that's the risk when you don't have a script, that you talk. I'm going to conclude, really. That's why I'm kindly, warmly inviting all of you to be part of this process. Next step is COP28, the very first COP, which will have an education pavilion, an education time, an education movement to raise even higher the flag of education, which is, and I really conclude, many times, unfortunately, a victim of climate change. In many countries, education is the target of natural disasters, and that's what we have to take care, what we are trying to take care in order to ensure as much as possible continuity of learning and support communities. I just talked to the Minister of Pakistan yesterday morning. You can imagine a country like Pakistan with millions and millions of learners out of school because of the dramatic flood last year. And of course, despite international organizations, including UNESCO, supporting the country, is still a very, very big challenge. However, education from our perspective is very much part of the solution, must be part of the solution, must be part of the equation. And this requires change, political commitment first, change, investment, and all your passion supporting all of us to make the cause. Once again, I thank you very much, and sorry I have to run to another meeting, but that's the job description, of course.
Wow, aren't you guys filled with passion and excitement? I know I definitely am, all because of our ADG and the incredible work that she is doing around education for sustainable development. But she mentioned something that was key, our role in this work and this agenda. And that's why partnership is important more than we can imagine. So without further ado, I'm going to welcome our very esteemed panel filled with thought leaders and young activists. So I'm going to call to stage Dana Dajani, who's actually joining us virtually. She's the Senior Vice President for Partnerships and Programs at the Abdallah Al Ghurairi Foundation. Also, Justin Edwards, he's the Director of Learning Experiences at Microsoft, joining us virtually as well. Niels Pedersen, please put your hands together. He is the Executive Director. He is the Executive Director of the Global Compact of France. Diana Cristancho, the founder and director of Faro Migrants in Colombia, and a great youth leader. And finally, Ellen Dixon, the outgoing member of the Global Student Steering Committee and the New Zealand Union of Student Associations president. So we have here a group of very expertise panels, and we're going to start off with Dana from the foundation to talk to us more about her vision around education for sustainable development and what her foundation is doing to prepare young people for the unprecedented future. Over to you.
There's a small technical glitch. We'll go to the next speaker, please.
No worries at all. Small technical glitch. That means we need to invest more in digital education. But we will give it over to Diana, our very energetic youth leader, who will talk to us about how we can merge the youth education movement and the youth climate agenda, especially in upcoming forums like COP28.
Thank you so much, Kenisha, and hello, everyone. Thanks a lot to UNESCO for inviting me to speak to this panel. My name is Diana Cristancho. I am from Colombia. I am the founder of Faro for Migrants and Refugees here in France. And I am also member of the UNESCO SDG4 network. So to answer your question, Kenisha, I think that it's important that we ask first why we are talking about youth, partnerships, and climate action. As everyone knows, it's not a secret, it's not a revelation. Climate change is not some distant problem for the future. That is a problem that is affecting the entire world right now. And youth are some of the most vulnerable to this problem because they are the next generation that will assume the effects of climate change. The impacts of climate change are of great preoccupation for young people around the world. So, through different global youth movements like SDG4 Youth Network and other movements in climate also, young people are raising their voices to ask permission, to ask an space. To ask an space in decision-making conference spaces. And that's the reason why we are talking about now, for example, about the Youth Declaration. because the Youth Declaration is a very important document made by the SDG for Youth Network last year. If you don't know the Youth Declaration, I respectfully invite you all to read this document presented last year in New York, as Estefania said, in the Transforming Education Summit in New York to the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres. And Youth Declaration is about meaningful youth participation and youth engagement. And that's the first step I think that we can take. We need to share this power between the youth education movement and the climate education movement to create a global movement, a global youth movement, because we have a common objective. We have a common responsibility that is protect the planet. So first step, to create these synergies between the education movement and climate movement that in reality is only one movement, the global youth movement. So first step is sharing this power. In second hand, we can obviously need more spaces, international spaces, for example, in the workshops, training sessions, international conference, but that we can see the youth education movement, the youth education leaders like Kenisha or Ellen, and youth climate leaders. So second step, we need more common spaces, because maybe we can see Transforming Education Summit and we can see COP28, but we need all together, work all together, because I repeat, we have a common objective. So first step is sharing this power between these two movements that in reality is a youth global movement. Second step is more common spaces. And a third step that I think that it's essential is to build the partnerships with adults, because young people are doing a great work at all levels, local level, regional, international level, but they need the support of adults. They need the support of public and private sector. They need the support of ministers, etc. So we need this support, because this panel, the purpose of this panel is this partnerships, fostering partnerships. So this is the third step. Everyone knows that climate change is a subject that needs specifically conversations, but young people are asking for a quality greening education partnership. Young people are asking to achieve a strong global agreement in next COP28, and that's the purpose also, to create these synergies, is to really have these powerful voices in international spaces. I think that we can talk about many sustainable development goals, but if we are not able to find a solution, an agreement for climate change, for climate action, in a few years, everything else will no longer matter. So I think that are some of the reasons that we can't create these synergies, but we need the support of international organizations, we need the support of adults, we need the support of all the delegations that are here. So that's important, to support young people, to support student organizations, and yes, that's for all. Thank you so much, Kenisha.
Thank you so much, Diana, for your invigorating ideas. We're now going to hear from Justin Edwards. Justin Edwards, he is the Director of Learning Experiences at Microsoft, and again, he's joining us virtually. So let's turn our attention to our virtual speaker and ask him how he is engaging young people in his organization towards the greening education and climate action movement. Over to you, Justin.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, delegates. It's great to join you on this call today. I'm Justin Edwards. I'm from Microsoft, and I work actually in Minecraft, which is one of the world's most popular and largest games. And this is really where we're coming from in terms of the green in education. I heard from the ADG presentation earlier the challenges of engaging young people in this material, in this curriculum, and in this content, and the challenges for teachers in delivering this and having confidence in delivering this. So what we're doing is we're developing content using a computer game that actually connects young people to the content. So they enjoy it, they participate in it, they immerse in it in their everyday lives and in what they're doing with their friends at home and in school. We're also supporting teachers with materials, information, documentation that connects them to that gameplay so that teachers can feel confident that what they're bringing into the classroom, they understand, and they're able to support the young people directly in how to use that material and how to have constructive and engaging conversations. Some of this work is being done with partners around the world. So, for example, we are working with C40 around major cities, around reimagining cities. So we're not just playing a game, we're raising also the youth voice as they start to understand the climate and sustainability issues that are required in order to redevelop urban centers and urban parts of our world in a more sustainable and climate friendly way. We're really excited about this material. We've already launched some of it and we're building it together, supplying it to the UNESCO framework as that develops for climate education. And so by the time we come to COP29 and beyond that, we'll be able to have content that support teachers and educators all around the world on the themes and topics that matter most, not just to the UNESCO framework, but to actually teachers in the classroom and what they're delivering. I'm delighted to talk later and answer any questions you have more about this particular topic. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Justin, for your incredible leadership towards inspiring teachers and learners to learn about their environmental challenges in their local communities. I will now pass it over to another great youth leader, Ellen Dixon, who is leading the global student movement. And Ellen, we would love to hear from you. What do you believe is the role of students in this movement? And how do you believe that young people and students need to be supported better and equipped with different skills so that they can be effective leaders in this climate crisis?
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Kanisha. Excellencies, distinguished guests, honoured speakers and colleagues. On the behalf of my national union and the Global Student Forum, it is an honour to be here today to discuss the importance of fostering partnerships for youth for climate education at this UNESCO General Conference. Before I answer my question, I want to identify that this conversation is incredibly pertinent for two reasons. The first, I need not fully unpack. The devastation of climate change is a commonly known fact. Humanity was recently reported to have lived through the hottest 12 months in 125,000 years. This has identified and exacerbated key power imbalances, with the poor contributing the least to climate change, while climate will push 130 million into poverty in the next 10 years. The second is this imbalance from a generational perspective as to how climate is being addressed, and in many cases challenged for young people. With increased momentum of students and youth at COP in the passing years and the achievement of the youth climate movement reveal youth awareness of our political, social, and ecological concerns. I would like to provide an alternative narrative to UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres when he said, "We are on a highway to climate hell with our foot on the accelerator," by saying that young people are about to safely qualify for their driver's license. The global demand for climate education is evidence of this. To equip students and youth to be effective leaders for climate education, we must first recognize that while young people are desiring to act for the climate, UNESCO reports 70% of young people cannot explain climate change. The focus on a socio-technical response to climate change by political actors and private actors has typically forgotten to address the human place in nature. Macro-layer systems are used to manage issues like fossil fuels that do not localize to the school or higher education, with UNESCO finding nearly half of 100 countries had no climate change focus in their national curricula. A people-centered approach, rather than a singular systems approach, is essential to support students and youth as leaders in climate education. UNESCO reported in 2022 that young people surveyed wanted to see climate education as a singular subject rather than limited to the natural sciences. young people are also calling for educational institutions to consider not only the impact on pedagogy and curricula, but on peer-to-peer modelling, school culture and governance, as has been witnessed in the pressure put on institutions by students to go green. Yet young people are under-resourced in this space. A recent global survey of GSF members found that 76%, my reading, of student unions identified a lack of funding or resources as the primary barrier to implementing sustainability practices in educational spaces. Existing climate education frameworks are also inconsistent due to the discipline having its roots in the 1970s to 80s, when the private sector oriented the system's focus on resource conservation and technological change. The private sector consequently holds the key to providing an intergenerational response to the system's focus from increasing efficiency of education institutions to being a critical partner in educating general publics in clean infrastructure, green supply chains, and pathways to sector development. This can be through supporting and resourcing internships, scholarships, funding provided to schools and educators, and youth-based entrepreneurship. Yet the Global Partnership for Education found that ODA has recently gone up for climate change, except in the area of education. So, how do we address this? We look at proposals such as the Global Youth Initiative put forward by UNESCO and the SDG for youth body. The GYI is the first multi-stakeholder global initiative aiming to ensure meaningful youth engagement and leadership in educational policy making. It aims to address obstacles preventing meaningful youth participation in a more systematic manner and at a larger scale, building on existing initiatives and lessons learned with key partners such as yourselves in the private sector and in governments. Such an initiative aims to provide a co-creation approach in areas such as climate education through policy making globally. This is because when we consider student and youth leadership in climate education, we return ironically to a very simple tenet of education. The purpose of education, like the environment, is to grow a strong organic self. This is why, where I come from, the environment and educational leadership for the young are the same. From the country I'm from, Aotearoa, New Zealand, the indigenous peoples have a saying, Ko aho te taio, ko te taio, ko aho. I am the environment, she is me. Because when I grow strong in understanding, so too does my world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ellen, for painting the picture about the importance of equipping young people with the necessary skills and knowledge through education to fight this climate crisis. I will now turn to Donna, who has joined us virtually, to get her thoughts on the picture that Ellen has painted. How do you believe that we can prepare young people for this quite unprecedented future? And what is the role that your foundation is playing in this Greening Partnership for Education?
Can you hear me? Sorry about that.
I can hear you.
Yes, thank you so much. And, everything that I've heard in the panel, I feel like we've all been sitting together and writing because I feel it's so complementary. I'm from the Abdullah Al-Ghudair Foundation, and, sustainability and green education has been on our agenda since the establishment of the foundation back in 2015. And before I delve into the work that we've been doing, I just thought I would first mention the kinds of things that we've been looking at whilst we do our programming and how we integrate sustainability so that it's really sort of mainstreamed, to help young people really foster these kinds of skills and mindsets to be able to become more empowered. So at the Abdullah Al-Ghudair Foundation, we're also working with young people across the Arab world and the region, mainly looking at Middle East and North Africa, and of course focused also on our work at home in the UAE. So First, what we looked at were critical kinds of skills and what are the kinds of mindsets that would be embedded in sustainability and green kinds of education. So critical thinking and problem solving was one of, as a starting point to encourage the sort of development of these young people's minds, to better prepare them to analyze situations and really be able to provide or explore sustainable solutions that are also innovative. Environmental awareness and responsibility, this has become a bit more of our work this year in particular, looking at how we instill the sense of responsibility and environmental understanding so that young people and communities are able to really apply what they've learned, and rather than hearing kind of words that they're not able to understand yet. Entrepreneurial mindset, how to get the young people to think more broadly, to be able to become more proactive in problem solving, and to really help them identify the opportunities, take initiative, etc. And then, of course, instilling in them the sense and culture of lifelong learning. For us, that we feel this is extremely important. Our programs are very organic, so they keep adapting according to learnings that we get, but also what's happening around us. So if I give you a bit of a journey from 2015 until today, our programs that have focused on helping young people integrating and understanding sustainability and also green education stems from different programs that we have worked on in addressing SDGs 4, 5, 8, and 17. So first, in 2015, we set up the STEM Education Scholarship Program. This really focused on young people in our region, looking at technology and science, access to higher education, as well as the certifications and competencies that are needed in today's economy. And then following that, we also have the Abdullah Al-Ghurer Open Learning Scholarship Program, which provided students with a master's degree and access to university degree from Arizona State University in sustainability leadership. This equipped young people with the leadership skills and sustainable practices, but also helped them navigate and contribute positively to a world that's facing environmental challenges. And then we have the Abdulaziz Al Ghurer Refugee Education Fund, which primarily targets young people, vulnerable young people and refugees in Jordan and Lebanon. We provided them with various skills through multiple partners on skills training in green technology, the solar and energy efficiency, automotive technology, ecopreneurship again. The idea here is to ensure that the skills that we provide, the trainings that we provide are certified, industry recognized, but also are very much aligned with what is needed in the green economy. How can we equip these young people to really partake and be engaged so that they're very industry relevant programs, etc. I'll just mention the last two is with the Ministry of Education in the UAE. We are working with them on their green education roadmap, where we're leading the greening communities pillar. This is very important for us, as it's really looking at broadening the understanding and awareness at the community level, and really instilling the culture of sustainability and awareness so that they can understand how to contribute as an individual and as an institution. And then last but not least, we're working with 13 to 18-year-olds on a program that provides them with three main things, also with the Emirates establishment, the Emirates School establishment, I apologize, and that's Empowering Youth for a Sustainable Future program, helping them to learn, understand, and then the doing, how to be able to apply it. And then lastly, how do you empower them to share this knowledge and really become more advocates for sustainability living in their schools, families, and communities. So this is it in a nutshell. Happy to answer questions, happy to explore potential collaborations as well.
Thank you so much, Donna, especially for the work that you are doing to champion so many programs to equip young people with not only the understanding about sustainable living, but how they can become advocates and champions for this. We've heard a lot about young people's role. We've heard a bit about what the private sector is doing, but now we would like to hear from Niels Pedersen, the Executive Director of Global Compact France. about what do you think the role is of the private sector for envisioning and realizing this green future?
Thank you, Kenisha, and thank you. Do you hear me? Yes? Yeah, better. Thank you, Kenisha, for your energy, for your leadership, and I feel quite humble after all of you because, wow, there is, so much to do. So maybe I will just give you a focus from our local partners, as a French partners. And of course, we have to point out that, of course, we have to listen to young people, but not only to listen to them, but to recognize, and that's what Hélène pointed out, to recognize the skills. Maybe we should be lucky that today the youth, well, I don't know if there is one youth, but the youth meaning nothing, but the young people are quite aware of what we should do or not doing for the future. And it's quite new, maybe in the history, because before the young people were not naive, but just enjoying the youthness, and then they was okay, we have to work and we will see later. And now they say, no, we have to deal now to tackle all the issues. And this is also quite new, and we have been talking about that this morning. There is so many questions we don't have answers to, meaning that we need to be all together, private, public, youth, civil society, and we need to be together. But it's quite new, because in the meantime, if we look to the business community, it's not that it's conservative, but they have process, they have KPIs, they have business models. And then you have some young people, activists. We need to change now. And you are right, we need to change now. But in the meantime, when you're in the business, you are looking in the long term, because you can't change every day your process, your business model, and you need time. So sometimes it's difficult because we struggle with young people, and when you are young, the future, it's not long term, it's not short term, but at 20, it's not the same being, even like me, 40, the future is not the same. And so sometimes it's difficult to understand each other, because even if we agree about the issues, we don't speak the same language. And so it's a huge challenge for the companies because, of course, they need that the young people will be the leaders from tomorrow. And we need them. But we need to be able to discuss together. And sometimes it's changing. The companies say, okay, we're listening to you, but just, abroad, just stay in the corner. And maybe at the end of the discussion, we will listen to you. And first, if we want to be quite concrete, and we can see that in France, it's to be able to give a seat to the floor and to give a seat, for instance, to the stakeholders committee and to invite young people, young organizations, say, okay, guys, be present in the same room and we have to listen to you and we will be part of the solution. This is the first things. But also, and even if we are quite lucky in France to have a very good and strong, school education or business community, and if we look more to the SDG, and connection between the different one, there is lots of young women that are afraid to go to the scientific, classes. They don't feel comfortable, so they prefer to go to law, to human schools, and they don't go to the scientific. And then when the company want to hire, some engineers, they don't find any girls. And that's an issue because if we look at the tech industry, what do we have? Male, white, straight, and at the end of the day, when you just design an app, it's not the same when you are a white man, a woman coming from the global south for the north, and it's an issue for the company. But in the meantime, they don't find any girls because girls, don't want to go to this kind of schools. So also, even if the companies want to have, a different range of people, they are not able so, and they want to invest, and France would say, no, it's not your role because we are the state. We decide what is good for the society, but not you as companies. So it's difficult in Western, countries sometimes because we are all agree about the issues, but we are not agrees about the answers. And last, maybe to finish, I think we are quite late. It's also a responsibility for the company, not also in the Western countries, but also in the global South, to help people. And we know, and it's not about being polemic, but we have a lot of immigration issues, but also because people just looking for jobs, that's quite simple, they just want to leave. And so we have, and companies have to invest through philanthropy or not, to education programs for the young people. And we have lots of companies in France being able to invest in training programs to offer a future to young people, not a future for them as an employee in the company. And I will give you an example. If Schneider Electric, support trainings for young people being electrician, is not to sell product from Schneider Electric. Of course, they will be happy if they sell, but that's not the purpose. But it's just to offer a future to the people, to say, okay, we train you, we form you to be able to be an employee, to have your own future, and this is much more important, and this is the responsibility of companies. So I try to be very concrete because we have a lack of time, but I think things are changing right now, and sometimes we need to be patient. And also, I will just give you one information. In the Global Compact, we will hire someone next year to be able to discuss between young people, academic community, civil society, to have someone being able to create synergy, partnerships, dialogues, conversation. And for our network, it's quite new. I think we are the first network within all the Global Compact to hire someone to be able to do that. And you are, as an executive director, I'm quite happy to have someone next year to be able to launch this kind of project.
Thank you so much, Nils, for the exciting updates of the Global Compact at France, but also reminding us that education really is an enabler for reducing inequalities in our society. And when we educate a girl, we not only educate a girl, but we educate a future leader and an engineer, right? Or a change maker. So thank you for reminding us of that importance. I'm now going to open the floor up for 1 or 2 questions. I know we have a lot of expertise, a lot of knowledge thrown at us, so I'm sure you guys have a lot of questions for these experts. Feel free to raise your hand and someone will come over with a microphone. Perhaps you can ask about the role that you play.
Or give examples. I think everyone's silent because climate education has been solved.
Hello. I just wanted to say it's great that we have sometimes seats, for example, also at COP, but a huge problem for youth organizations to participate on those events is also to finance the trip there. For example, now he will go, but he will finance himself with his own money to go there. So that's a huge problem. It's also, how to say, segregating or, not everybody from the youth can go. Like it's just like people from European countries who can maybe finance the trip. But yeah, so I would state that maybe you think about it to also find ways to support the financial burden.
Absolutely, you're definitely right. It's very difficult to have a diversity of youth experiences and voices in these global dialogues. And oftentimes, it is always missing, that diversity of thought, diversity of experiences. So I hope that with the private sector partners we have here, in future global dialogues, we're able to open more seats and arms to other young people. I saw another question, so over to you.
Thank you. So I'm from the International Federation of Business and Professional Women, and we are, of course, advocating for more women and girls in STEM. So you said they are afraid. So I would like to know if really the youth here, and particularly girls and women, think it's because they are afraid or for other reasons, because I think there are lots of reasons for that. And also we are a member of Global Compact, so I would like to know what's the difference with Global Compact and Friends. Thank you very much. And I think also it's a question of intergenerational dialogue. And you mentioned it, and thank you very much. I think it's very important. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. I wonder if our youth leaders have any thoughts on this.
I wanted to first respond to the point that the gentleman in the back talked about, because I think one of the things that we see a lot within the space is the naturalization of these power imbalances, but also socioeconomic imbalances towards young people when it comes to public spaces. And that's not simply limited to the space of presenting at COP, it's also in those spaces when we're looking at how education is tying to the gig economy, how it's tying to casualised labour and putting young people in positions where discussing green economies, blue economies is limited. I am glad to see that some of that is opening up at the moment, because I come from the Pacific. Private partnerships are now increasingly opening up to the Pacific and Indigenous peoples in those spaces to go to COP, which is really cool to see. And increasingly we're seeing STEM subjects be encouraged to young women through courses and leadership within those spaces going forward to them. So there is hope for those spaces, but I think it's also just being able to champion those voices and showcase what's been successful. So thank you for your good work. Oh, I'm also, UNESCO would like me to mention, first and foremost, I should start off by thanking Kanisha for your wonderful work on the high-level steering committee, because I was very, very honoured to be able to step in after you. I'm from the Pacific. It's very awkward to talk about when we've been appointed to things, but yeah, that's my next 2 years engagement, but it will be a privilege to carry on from the amazing work that Kanisha's been doing in that space, so thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ellen. We're really happy to have you. I see Justin has his wisdom to share with us. So over to you, Justin.
Thanks very much. I think one of the points made from the floor in the question there was about intergenerational conversations or intergenerational connection. I think that this is a very, very valid point and something that we've been trying to address. I did some work recently with the BBC around a series of television programs called Frozen Planet, which is raising awareness of the impact of climate change on the animal life of the frozen world around us. And we've just launched another piece of work called Planet Earth 3 with them. What we're doing there is actually going to where young people are, which is in computer games, but also their parents or their grandparents or trusted adults around them are watching television programs, maybe streaming or on live media. And we've got to merge the channels together so that actually the child experiences it in one way, the adult experiences it in another way, but then they come together at the dinner table or at leisure time, and they're discussing the topics or the issues, and they're solving it together. Young people just bring such creativity, such imagination to the problems. They see the multiple answers to the problems that we face, and they can also be an influence on the behaviors or the attitudes actually of the older generation through that discussion. So if we want to connect across intergenerational, we have to think about the different platforms, the different pathways that each generation works, and we actually have to work collaboratively across these different pathways in order to instill that intergenerational conversation. Thank you very much.
Very much, Justin. Now over to you, Donna.
Thank you. I just wanted to touch on the gender and STEM that the lady over there had spoken about. I'm sorry, I forgot your name. But I wanted to share that, you know, within working in the region in the Middle East and North Africa, we have had some, you know, challenges of getting young people, particularly young women. But I think what is very, very critical for what was critical for us was to really look at it through a gender lens and really encourage our partners to do so, and how we can encourage not only for them to access higher education, because in our STEM and OLSP programs, which are really focused on STEM and higher education to access universities, out of 1,000 students, we had over 55% that were young women. That's the issue that we're looking at as well, is how that decreases when we're actually female participation in the labor force. And I feel that's what we need to also encourage with looking at advocacy, etc., and how to get more young women to partake in sort of STEM fields in the workforce.
Thank you, Donna. That was quite an interesting note that you made about how empowering one girl or empowering a female, we do see the difference in our community around climate crisis and the environmental effects that we face. We've heard a lot today, a lot of exciting thoughts, but I'll leave you with these 3 key takeaways. 1, the data could not be more clear. The environmental crisis is affecting a lot of young people and especially the marginalized. 2, we need education to be able to equip young people with these skills and tools so that they can become leaders in combating this climate crisis. And 3, We can't do anything without partnership, without our foundations, without Microsoft support and the UN Global Compact and private foundations that Donna is leading. So we all need to work together. And that is thank you to all of our partners here today for making that happen. So as you continue your day, think about your role in the Screening Education Partnership and how you can champion not only youth voices, but youth participation in your partnerships. Thank you all for listening today.